Say hi, baby. Hey. Say hi. Hello. Hi everyone, Tulletha here from Earth Kids New Zealand. That's my dog. Well, actually my dad's dog, Bonnie. I'm just Bonnie sitting for the weekend. Dog sitting for the weekend. Anyway, hi. Welcome to our second tutorial on oogoo shoes. So the first tutorial I talked you through how to make silicone oogoo for the shoes. So this tutorial is going to be how to mold the shoe to get a really nice silicone mold that looks like this. So here's a few of them that I've made already. They're in a bit of a pile, as you can see, but that's what we're going to make. So what you'll need is, I've just got some coconut oil in this wee container here. I'm a massage therapist, so that's what I use for massage, is coconut oil, and a paintbrush and just a wee thing to put the oil in. I've just used an old lid. Okay, you're going to need your silicone that we made up previously in our tutorial beforehand, and then you need to pick your shoes. So today we're going to work with this little one. Yeah, I think it's quite cute. Cool. So let's get started. Right, so to begin with, I have to melt my coconut oil because obviously it sets. So I just pop it in a container full of hot water and then just let it sit there for a little while. And then once you've done that, and it should be warm enough to use, you just need to pour a little bit into your container. Woo, I poured way too much, but that's okay. Awesome. Then you just need to pick up the shoe that you'd like to use. So for example, this is our little shoe that we're going to use. And then just coat your paintbrush with some coconut oil and then paint it on. So this is going to lubricate the shoe and make sure that it doesn't stick to the mold itself. And I'll show you a result of not doing a very good job of that later on. So just coat it generously. Make sure you get the inside of that little hole there so that your little silicone pin can come out at the end of the day. I don't know if it's a pin, but I'm going to call it a pin. So once you've done a good coating of it, I just let it sit to rest for a little bit. Let it do its thing. Right, we've got our silicone that we made up before. I typically like to use this pretty quickly. And again, use your Vaseline or petroleum jelly to coat your hands. And it makes it a little bit stickier, so you're going to have to make sure that you've got some corn flour on hand. Okay, so make sure that's all moldable and looking good to use. Okay, so while that's curating, I'll just let you know that if you don't do a good job of it, you end up with sticky silicone stuck to your shoe. And if you let the silicone set for too long, then this is what happens. So I had half a shoe put aside somewhere to show you guys, but basically I had to peel the silicone off of that shoe that I just showed you. So yeah, I recommend not doing that. It kind of wrecks the shoe as well. So don't let it sit for too long. This stuff I started using yesterday, the 100% silicone that I talked to you about in the tutorial beforehand. So I was experimenting with something different. But this orangey yellow stuff, it was $7, and I had to leave it sit overnight for a couple of days for it to cure. This sat literally just one overnight and it was already set. So yeah, just experiment with the different silicones that you use. Yeah, my current glue shoes have been made from these orange ones and they have turned out okay. So anyway, yeah. Right, now that we've let this little one sit for a little bit, most of the excess oil has dripped off, and now what I do is I just get some oogoo and mix it around, and then what we're trying to do is get the hole filled with oogoo. So just shove it in there, make sure that you get a good good amount in the hole there, and I sort of press it down a bit more and then cover it up. So you want to make sure that the opening, the header of the shoe, is fully covered and has a good amount of silicone around it. So as you can see, this is an already made one. You can't see the top of the shoe there. So if you don't, what happens is that when you take the shoe off, it breaks and you don't get a good result. But I'll show you what I did with this later on in the next tutorial as to how I remedied this. So anyway, we need to make sure that that is fully in the hole, and then we cover it up nice and easily, and then just get a good coverage around the whole shoe there. So make sure that when you do this, it's there's a nice thick coverage around the whole shoe. Now I cover it down to the base, and then what I've been doing is I've been covering over the base, and I'll show you what I do next once it's cured. So you don't have to do it this way, it's just a way that I've found. I don't mind not having the full base of the shoe, but it just leaves, what I'm doing is just going to leave the shoe with a nice sort of cut. Don't really have one to show you right now, but anyway. So yeah, basically you just need to mold it around the shoe, making sure that it's nice and firm so it gets that pretty little pattern that shoe has. Yep, so, and it's starting to get a little bit tacky and a little bit wet because it's absorbing that oil. So what I do now is I just get some corn flour and I sort of just rub it over the top of the shoe there. So once you've got a firm coating and a decent coating around the whole shoe, okay, I just sort of do a little bit of patting and rolling in my hands so that it fits around the whole shoe and it leaves a nice smooth finish. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here, making sure that each side of the shoe has an even amount of coating. And then just get some corn flour, and again just moulding it to the palm of my hand really. Yep. And when I feel like I'm happy with the result, so try not to overwork it, but most of the time I do because that's how I roll. Yeah, once I'm kind of happy with the result, then what I have done is I just get a little craft knife, and I kind of slit or I break the mold so that we can access it later on. It doesn't stick completely to itself. Okay, and then you set it to dry. Now I set it face down like you're about to wear the shoe yourself. Well, not you, but your doll. You know what I mean. So once I'm happy with it, see there's still a little bit of a dark gap there, so I might move some of the oogoo from the thick spot up to the top there and just mold it in, and then pat this down and again get my palm in there and kind of mold it around a bit. So there's a bit of a fiddling around, you know, just kind of play with it. If you have your own technique, then that's cool. This is kind of what I've been doing. So once you're kind of happy with it and you've got enough sort of a gap in the bottom there, okay, what I do now is I'll just sit it down and let it sit. Well, last night I let it sit for the whole night, so today I might just let it sit for a couple of hours, and then once it's at a stage where you can easily kind of peel the sides off, see, like this one's completely cured, and I'll show you what I'll do with this one in the next tutorial. But once you think it's good enough just to peel back, then yeah, see, this is what happens when you leave it to cure for too long. It just sticks to the shoe. So it's all trial and error, but it's all good. So I'll fix that one up later on. Cool, and that's about it. So once you've got your mold there, let it sit for a little while and just experiment with your timings. Tutorial number two number 2. And feel free to come back and subscribe to my channel and see some more tutorials on the further products.